Commander Selvak stood at the bridge of the Midnight Talon, his segmented eyes fixed on the small vessel that had just dropped out of hyperspace. The human medical transport was barely a quarter the size of his warship, its white hull marked with red crosses that seemed to glow against the backdrop of stars. Pathetic, he chittered, mandibles clicking in amusement. These humans make it too easy. A medical transport alone in the outer rim. They're practically begging to be raided. His first officer, Crix, shifted uncomfortably beside him. Commander, perhaps we should reconsider. The Drakari clan attempted to raid a human supply line last cycle and... The Drakari are incompetent fools, Selvak interrupted. That's why they patrol the garbage lanes while we rule the outer rim. Besides, this isn't a military vessel. It's a medical transport. What are they going to do? Throw bandages at us? The bridge crew chittered in nervous laughter, but Selvak noticed how their secondary appendages twitched anxiously. Stories had been circulating through the pirate networks about human vessels, but he dismissed them as exaggerations. After all, humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, barely 2 centuries into space travel. What could they possibly do against the most feared pirate crew in 3 sectors? Deploy the boarding shuttles, he ordered. Standard formation. Let's show these humans how the Midnight Talon earned its reputation. The massive warship's weapon systems powered up, bathing the medical transport in targeting locks. Selvak expected the usual response. Desperate pleas for mercy, perhaps an attempt to flee. Instead, the human vessel remained eerily still. No distress signals, reported his communications officer. No emergency broadcasts. No attempts at communication at all. Selvak's mandibles twitched. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't place it. Hail them. Let's at least give them a chance to surrender properly. The comm channel crackled to life, and a surprisingly calm human voice responded. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the UTM's Hope's Beacon. We are a medical transport carrying emergency supplies and personnel. How may we assist you today? The lack of fear in the human's voice made Selvak's carapace itch. This is Commander Selvak of the Midnight Talon. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in immediate termination of your crew. I understand, Dr. Chen replied, still unnervingly calm. However, I should inform you that we are carrying highly volatile experimental medical compounds. Any weapons discharge could trigger a reaction that would be unfortunate for everyone involved. You expect me to believe that? Selvak laughed, a pathetic attempt at deception. Board them, he ordered his crew. Show them why even the mention of the Midnight Talon causes system governors to tremble. 3 boarding shuttles launched from his ship, each carrying a dozen of his best warriors. Selvak watched with satisfaction as they latched onto the medical transport's hull. The humans hadn't even activated their point defense systems. The first boarding team cut through the airlock. Minimal resistance, reported the team leader, moving to secure the bridge. Selvak settled back in his command chair, already calculating how much the medical supplies would fetch on the black market. Modern human medical technology was particularly valuable, especially their regenerative compounds. The comms suddenly erupted with screaming. What's happening? Selvak demanded, lurching forward. Unknown. His tactical officer responded. We've lost contact with Teams 2 and 3. Team 1's vital signs air. The officer's voice caught. They're just gone. The video feed from the boarding teams showed only static, but the audio continued. Metal scraped against metal. Something hissed. More screaming, cut short by what sounded like breaking bones. What in the void is happening over there? Selvak roared. Dr. Chen's voice returned, still calm but now tinged with something that might have been pity. I did try to warn you about our cargo. You see, we're not just carrying medical supplies. We're carrying medical research. Specifically, prototype nanomedicinal defense systems designed to identify and eliminate threats to human life. Unfortunately, they're still in the experimental phase and haven't quite learned to distinguish between lethal and non-lethal force. Selvac's blood ran cold as the implications hit him. "Fall back," he ordered. "Recall all teams and prepare tow." "I'm afraid it's too late for that," Dr. Chen interrupted. "The nanoswarms have already identified your ship as a threat. They're quite fascinating, really. They can transmit themselves through any electronic system and replicate using available materials. Your boarding shuttles provided them with an excellent pathway to your vessel." As if on cue, the Midnight Talon's systems began to fail. Lights flickered, life support sputtered, and somewhere in the depths of the massive warship, something began to move through the ventilation systems. "Don't worry," Dr. Chen added, her voice still professionally pleasant. "Once they've neutralized all threats, they'll return to their containment units. Standard human medical protocol, you understand. We take our oaths to do no harm very seriously. Though I suppose that depends on your definition of harm." The screaming began again, closer this time. Selvac realized, too late, why humans had gained such a fearsome reputation among pirates. It wasn't their weapons or their ships that made them dangerous. It was their definition of medical technology. 3 cycles after the Midnight Talon incident, Captain Mira Desh of the pirate vessel Silent Strike studied the detailed reports with growing unease. The wreckage of Selvac's ship had been found drifting in the outer rim, its hull intact but its crew altered. The investigation teams had found only empty corridors filled with a fine metallic dust. "It doesn't make sense," she muttered, her crystalline fingers tapping against the datapad. "A medical transport shouldn't have been able to do this." Her tactical officer, Vex, a towering meridian with skin like polished obsidian, cleared his throat. "Captain, we've identified another human supply vessel. Agricultural transport this time, designated Terra's Bounty. Minimal escort, carrying seed stocks and farming equipment to the colony in the Arcturus sector." Mira's 6 eyes narrowed. The Silent Strike specialized in agricultural raids. Food supplies always sold well on the black market. But after what happened to the Midnight Talon, "Show me the scan results," she ordered. The holographic display sprang to life, showing a bulky transport ship escorted by a single patrol vessel. Everything looked normal, almost too normal. "We've analyzed their defense capabilities," Vex continued. "Standard point defense systems, minimal armor. Nothing suggesting advanced technology or hidden weapons." Mira rose from her command chair, her crystalline form catching the starlight. "What about unusual energy signatures? Anything that could indicate specialized cargo?" "Nothing, Captain. It appears to be exactly what it claims to be." That was the problem, wasn't it? The Midnight Talon had also found exactly what it expected, until it didn't. But the potential profit from this raid could set them up for a year, maybe more. "We'll try something different," Mira decided. "No boarding parties. We'll disable their engines with precision strikes and dock with them directly. Full environmental suits for any crew making contact and constant monitoring for unusual signatures." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, bringing the Silent Strike into attack position. The human vessels made no attempt to flee or call for help. They simply maintained their course, as if unaware of the threat bearing down on them. "They've noticed us," reported the sensor officer. "But they're not changing course or raising shields." Mira felt her crystalline structure vibrate with tension. "Hail them." The comm system crackled, and a weathered human face appeared on screen. "This is Captain James Chen of the Terra's Bounty. Beautiful day for farming, isn't it?" Mira blinked all 6 eyes in succession. "Chen. Any relation to?" "Sarah Chen, the doctor from the Hope's Beacon." The human smiled. "My sister. We come from a family of specialists. She specializes in healing. I specialize in growing things." A chill ran through Mira's crystalline form. "Stand down your vessels and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance?" "Oh, we won't resist," Chen interrupted cheerfully. "But I should mention that we're carrying some experimental crop strains. Fascinating stuff. Self-replicating seeds designed to grow in any environment, even inside spacecraft. They're quite aggressive in their growth patterns, something about human DNA making them especially adaptive. Mira's tactical display suddenly blazed with warnings. Hundreds of tiny objects were launching from the Terra's bounty, too small to be missiles, too numerous to be debris. Seeds, Chen explained, still smiling. The ones we modified with tardigrade DNA, virtually indestructible, capable of surviving in space, and programmed to seek out water and organic material. They're quite efficient at finding their way through hull breaches. Would you like to see how fast they can grow? The first impacts against the Silent Strike's hull were so gentle they barely registered. Then the sensors started showing microscopic breaches, spreading like a spiderweb across the ship's surface. Fall back, Mira ordered. Maximum thrust. Too late, Chen said softly. They've already found your hydroponics bay. Did you know that some Earth plants can double their mass every few hours under the right conditions? These can do it in minutes. I'd suggest evacuating any sections of your ship with water pipes. Things are about to get rather green. The first screams came from the lower decks. Not of pain, but of panic as massive vines burst through the walls, following the water lines and growing with impossible speed. The Silent Strike's sleek corridors transformed into a jumble before the crew's eyes. Don't worry, Chen added. The plants aren't carnivorous. Well, most of them aren't. We're farmers. After all, we believe in ethical pest control. Mira watched in horror as her mighty warship was slowly consumed by a forest that grew in the vacuum of space, its hull being split apart by roots stronger than steel. She finally understood why human supply lines had become untouchable. It wasn't because they were well defended. It was because humans had turned everything, even seeds, into weapons. Would you like me to continue with part 3? This section expands on the theme of human ingenuity by showing how they've weaponized something as innocent as agriculture, while building the reputation that makes pirates fear human supply routes. The Crimson Nebula trading post hummed with activity, its vast docking rings crowded with ships from 100 different species. In a dimly lit corner of the station's most notorious bar, 3 pirate captains met to discuss a growing problem. It's not just the medical ships and agricultural transports, growled Kaztok, his scaled hide bearing fresh scars from his last encounter with a human vessel. Last week, the Void Reaper tried to hit what looked like a simple mining operation. You know what happened. X-117, a cybernetically enhanced Nixilian, leaned forward, their optical sensors whirring. The Void Reaper. Tharkul's ship. I heard it vanished. Not vanished, Kaztok corrected, taking a long drink. Transformed. The humans were testing new mining nanites, self-replicating machines designed to break down asteroids. Turns out they work just as well on starship hulls. The Void Reaper is still out there, but now it's just a cloud of microscopic machines, endlessly searching for more material to consume. The third captain, a crystalline being known only as the Facet, sparkled in agitation. Even their civilian vessels are death traps. My scouts tracked what we thought was a refugee transport. Simple target, minimal defenses. But when we got close, the Facet's surface rippled with remembered terror. The refugees were quantum physicists. They had some kind of experimental dry system. Created a localized time dilation field. Half my crew aged 1,000 years in seconds. X-117 cybernetic components clicked rapidly. The humans must be doing this deliberately. No species accidentally creates so many weaponized civilian technologies. Of course it's deliberate. A new voice interjected. All 3 captains turned to see a human sitting at the next table, wearing the simple uniform of a merchant marine. She smiled and raised her glass. Rebecca Chen, civilian transport pilot. Chen. Kaztok's scales flattened in fear. Any relation to James and Sarah? My cousins. Rebecca's smile widened. We're a big family. All of us specialized in different fields. Transportation, in my case. Would you like to know what my ship carries? The three pirate captains exchanged glances. None of them wanted to know, but Rebecca continued anyway. Nothing, actually. Just empty cargo containers. But they're interesting containers. Quantum-locked. Time-sealed. Some of them might have been empty for 1,000 years, or they might contain something that hasn't been invented yet. Schrödinger's cargo, you might say. Want to guess what happens when someone tries to force them open? The facet's crystalline structure vibrated with anxiety. How? How are you doing this? Your species only achieved FTL travel 2 centuries ago. You shouldn't have this level of technology. Rebecca laughed. That's the funny thing about humans. We don't wait until we need something to invent it. We invent it first, then figure out what it's good for later. Those mining nanites, originally designed to clean up ocean pollution. The quantum containers, started as a way to keep coffee hot. We just get creative when we need to. You're insane, X-117 stated flatly. Your entire species is insane. Maybe, Rebecca agreed cheerfully, but we're very good at practical applications of our insanity. Did you know my sister works in waste management? Amazing things you can do with garbage processing technology, especially when you repurpose it to process other things. Like pirate ships. She stood, finishing her drink. Just something to think about. Oh, and if you're wondering about the drink I just finished. She set down the empty glass, which began to slowly melt through the table. Sometimes a water purification system can be reversed. Enjoy your evening, gentlemen. The three pirate captains watched her leave, then stared at the hole forming in their table. Finally, Castok spoke what they were all thinking. We need to find easier targets, human supply lines. They're not worth it. Not when every civilian ship is a potential apocalypse waiting to happen. In the shadows of the bar, a dozen other pirates who had been eavesdropping quietly canceled their planned raids on human space. The message was spreading. Humans didn't need warships to defend their supply lines. They had something far more terrifying. Civilian scientists with too much creativity and too little common sense. As Rebecca Chen walked back to her ship, she sent a message to her extensive family. Reputation maintenance successful. Though we might need to requisition a new table for the Crimson Nebula bar. Sorry about that, Cousin Jamie. I know that was your favorite drinking spot. The response came quickly. No problem. I'll send them one of our new self-repairing tables. The ones made from the experimental construction nanites. That should give them something new to worry about. Would you like me to continue with part 4? This section focuses on how the humans have built their fearsome reputation, showing it's not just their technology, but their creative application of seemingly harmless civilian technology that makes them so dangerous. Admiral Zixtar of the Crimson Fleet, the largest pirate armada in the Outer Rim, had gathered his most brilliant strategists for a critical mission. The massive command center of his flagship, Destiny's Shadow, was filled with holographic displays showing every known human supply route. We've been approaching this wrong, he announced, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with determination. Individual raids fail because we don't understand their psychology. But I've spent months studying human history. Their weakness isn't in their ships, it's in their supply chain management. His chief strategist, a quantum-enhanced AI housed in a crystalline matrix, projected its analysis. Elaborate, Admiral. Previous attempts to exploit their supply lines have resulted in catastrophic losses. Because we attack their ships directly, Zixtar explained. But humans rely on complex logistical networks. We don't need to attack their vessels. We just need to disrupt their scheduling. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. The Crimson Fleet would use quantum interference to scramble navigation data across 3 sectors, delaying shipments and creating chaos in the human supply network. No direct confrontation, no boarding attempts, just subtle manipulation of data streams. They can't weaponize paperwork, Zixtar declared confidently. 6 hours after implementing their plan, the first report arrived. A human supply coordinator named Maria Chen had noticed the discrepancies in the navigation data. Instead of reporting it, she had written a new adaptive algorithm that not only compensated for the quantum interference, but actually used it to create more efficient shipping routes. How? Zixtar demanded, his bioluminescence flickering in frustration. It's not possible to use interference patterns as a navigation aid. Actually, it is, came a response over their supposedly secure command channel. The quantum noise you introduced has some fascinating properties. Thank you for that, by the way. We've been looking for a way to test our new quantum-entangled navigation system. The voice belonged to Maria Chen. Somehow, she had backtraced their interference signal to its source. You don't understand, she continued pleasantly. Logistics isn't just about moving things from point A to point B. It's about finding patterns in chaos. And humans, we're very, very good at turning chaos into opportunity. Zixtar watched in disbelief as his fleet's carefully coordinated formation began to break apart. The quantum interference he had introduced was being reflected back, amplified, and restructured. Ships started appearing in the wrong places, their positions scrambled by the very technology he had used to disrupt human shipping. By the way, Maria added, once we identified the quantum signature of your ships, we took the liberty of adding them to our logistics network. Your fleet is now officially classified as misplaced cargo in our system, and our algorithms are very insistent about putting cargo in its proper place. The horror of what she meant became clear as ships of the Crimson Fleet began automatically jumping to random coordinates, their nav systems commandeered by the human logistics network that now considered them wayward packages to be sorted. Don't worry, Maria assured them. The system will eventually deliver you somewhere. Probably. Our success rate is only 99.9%, and that 0.1% margin of error can be a bit interesting. Did you know that quantum-entangled navigation errors can sometimes send ships into parallel dimensions? We're still working out that bug, or feature, depending on how you look at it. As his mighty fleet was scattered across space by a logistics algorithm, Zixtar finally understood. The humans hadn't just weaponized their cargo, they'd weaponized bureaucracy itself. His last coherent thought, before his flagship was delivered to what appeared to be an alternate universe where space was played instead of black, was a fervent wish that he had never learned the name Chen. Would you like me to continue with the final part? This section demonstrates how humans can turn even mundane systems like logistics into formidable defenses, while maintaining the running theme of the Chen family's creative solutions to piracy. The Grand Council of the Pirate Confederacy had never met in an official capacity before. Pirates, by their nature, avoided organization. But desperate times called for desperate measures. Representatives from every major pirate fleet in known space gathered in the ancient asteroid base, known as Thieves' Haven. The massive chamber was filled with the most notorious raiders, smugglers, and marauders in the galaxy, and they were all terrified. High Admiral Krell, last surviving commander of the once mighty Shadow Armada, addressed the assembly, his cybernetic eye weird as he surveyed the crowd. The situation has become untenable, he announced. In the past year alone, we've lost 47 capital ships, 12 battle groups, and 3 entire fleets to human civilian vessels. The latest incident involved a human garbage scow. A garbage scow that turned our most advanced dreadnought into modern art. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Everyone had a story now. Tales of human civilian ships that carried impossible weapons disguised as mundane cargo. Stories of the dreaded Chen family, whose members seemed to be everywhere, turning every branch of human society into a tactical nightmare. We must adapt, Krell continued. Our traditional methods. Traditional methods. A new voice cut through the chamber. Everyone turned to see a small human woman standing at the entrance, wearing a maintenance uniform. Sorry to interrupt. Just here to fix the environmental controls. Lisa Chen, Environmental Systems Specialist. The assembly erupted in panic. Pirates dove for cover or rushed for exits. Someone screamed, Don't let her touch anything. Another voice shouted, check the air filters. Lisa rolled her eyes. Relax. I'm actually here to make a proposal. Krell's cybernetic eye focused on her with weapon-grade intensity. A proposal? Yes. You see, my family has been having fun with all this, but it's getting a bit tedious, so we'd like to offer an alternative arrangement. She walked to the center of the chamber, seemingly oblivious to the dozens of weapons trained on her. Here's the deal. Stop trying to raid our ships, and we'll hire you instead. Silence fell over the assembly. Finally, Krell spoke. Hire us. Sure. We need security contractors for our shipping lanes. Who better than experienced space pirates? You know all the tricks, all the weak points. We'll pay competitively, provide benefits, even throw in dental. Better than getting turned into abstract sculpture by whatever my cousin Dev's cooking up in his quantum pottery class. You want to hire pirates to protect ships from pirates. Why not? It's a human tradition. Look up the privateer system sometime. Besides, she smiled, would you rather keep testing our civilian ships? I hear my niece just graduated from culinary school. She's doing fascinating things with molecular gastronomy. Did you know you can make soup that eats through battleship armor? The pirates looked at each other. They thought about their losses, about ships transformed into forests or scattered across dimensions, about crews turned to dust or trapped in time loops or reformed into interpretive dance troupes. I'll need to see the benefits package, Krell said finally. Of course. Though I should mention, the dental plan is handled by my Aunt Teresa. She's been experimenting with some interesting new approaches to orthodontics. Nothing weaponized. Well, mostly nothing weaponized. And that was how the most feared pirates in known space became the first line of defense for human shipping lanes. They discovered, to their surprise, that legitimate work could be just as exciting as piracy, especially when it involved protecting ships that might accidentally turn you into a quantum probability cloud if you made them angry. As for the Chen family, they continued their proud tradition of turning ordinary human activities into terrifying defense systems. But now they had a new hobby: finding creative ways to write performance reviews for reformed pirates. After all, as Lisa Chen often said, the only thing more dangerous than human ingenuity is human resources. The end.